Yin Pav. I swear to God, my uterus hated me. It had the worst timing ever. Today of all days, my sister's wedding, and my body decided to throw a tantrum. The cramps started around morning. At first, they were just a dull ache, like a warning whisper, but by the time I was fixing the seating cards and trying to find the damn florist, who disappeared in mid-morning, it felt like something was clawing at my insides with tiny angry fists. And what made it worse, my period wasn't even supposed to come yet. I still had a week left according to my app, but my body, oh no, she had her own chaotic agenda. So yeah, I wore a pad, just in case, not because I thought I'd need it, but because I didn't trust my luck. And I was right not to, because when does anything ever go smoothly in my life? Still, I kept moving even though I could feel the need to go to bathroom. I was the daughter of the bride's family, after all, which meant I was everything today: bridesmaid, coordinator, delivery checker, emotional support therapist, water bottle carrier, shoe finder, speech proofreader. And I didn't complain, because it was her day, my sister's day. She looked so beautiful in her dress that I nearly cried when I walked in the bridal room. I could handle a few cramps if it meant making sure her day went perfect. I pulled down the soft baby pink gown I was wearing, smoothing the fabric near my waist as I walked past the entrance hall to check on the guest book. The satin fluttered behind me, flowy and light, but God, why did I feel like I was bleeding more than I should? I bit the inside of my cheek, trying not to let the thought spiral. I didn't have time to panic, just a couple more hours, I told myself. Then I could curl into my bed like a human burrito and die quietly with a hot water bottle. I plastered on a smile as one of the aunts called out my name, waving her towards the photo booth with gentle hands. My feet were already sore from running around in heels, and my makeup was clinging to life thanks to the sweat and humidity. The baby hairs at my neck were stuck to my skin. I took a deep breath, checking the time on my phone. Ceremony was in 30 minutes. Good. If I moved quickly, I could sneak into the staff room and use bathroom, maybe sit down for a second without anyone yelling my name. I turned, taking the side hallway that led past the storage doors where most of the crowd wouldn't go. But as I started walking, I felt something strange. The footsteps. At first, I ignored it. It was a busy wedding hall. People were walking all over the place, but the steps matched mine exactly. Slowed down when I did, picked up again when I moved faster. A few more seconds passed, and I felt it again, like they were closer now. My shoulders tensed, something crawling up my spine. It was not fear but discomfort. I started shifting to the side, giving way like I expected someone to just pass me, but whoever it was, didn't. They stayed directly behind me. That was it, and I stopped walking, and whoever was walked right into me. Ow, I stumbled forward a bit, but a hand caught my elbow, gently before I could fall. Sorry. I didn't mean to, the voice stammered. I turned around quickly, and it was, out of all people, Jungkook. I don't know, I should be feel relieved or confused. He looked just as surprised as I felt, like he'd been caught stealing cookies, wide-eyed and stunned at our closeness. His hand dropped immediately from my arm, and he took a step back. Hey, he said, what were you doing behind me? My tone coming out more defensive than I intended. I crossed my arms loosely, trying not to frown. You kinda freaked me out. His mouth opened then closed again. He rubbed the back of his neck, looking off to the side for a second before glancing back at me. Now that he wasn't 2 steps behind me, I could actually see him properly. He looked good. His charcoal gray suit hugged his frame a little too perfectly. The sleeves of his white shirt rolled up just below the elbows, forearms dusted with light veins, and a silver watch glinting against his wrist. His black hair was pushed back but messily. He had a beauty mark beneath his lip that I never really noticed until now, and his eyes, dark, deep, framed with lashes way too long for a boy. Sorry, he said again. I didn't mean to be weird. I just didn't. I didn't know how to tell you. My brows pulled together slightly. Tell me what? There's a stain. He shifted on his feet, one hand gesturing vaguely behind my waist. A blood stain. I think, a little high up, on the back. What? My heart dropped into my stomach. I immediately tried twisting my upper body, one hand reaching behind me, but the dress was too long and flowy, and I couldn't see anything. All I could feel was panic rising in my throat. Oh my God, I muttered. Are you serious? He nodded gently. I didn't mean to embarrass you in front of anyone. I pressed a hand to my temple. My face felt hot, palms sweaty. I was suddenly very aware of every eye in the building even though no one was looking. This is so embarrassing. Hey, I don't think anybody noticed. I look at him, and his eyes slightly widen. Not that I was staring at you or anything. I just notice it by pure accident when you were walking away, like you know. He looked concerned genuinely. His brows were slightly furrowed, and his gaze didn't dip once, not even to my dress. He kept his eyes right on mine. I think there's an empty room near the back, he added. One of the bridal prep rooms. You can go clean up. I'll take you there. You don't have to. I don't mind, he said, cutting me off. Let me just walk with you. Yeah, I bit the inside of my cheek, then slowly nodded. He walked beside me now, but this time I didn't feel uncomfortable by his footsteps like I did before. We reached the bridal prep room faster than I expected. He didn't say anything, just opened the door quietly and held it for me like a gentleman out of instinct. I still fixed straight ahead. I stepped inside without meeting his gaze, heart thudding in my ears. Thank you, I said. He nodded once. Go inside. I walked inside the bathroom and shut the door. I exhaled and let the folds of my dress drop from my fingers. My hands were still shaking. As I looked around the room, finally looking at the mirror, the back of my dress was ruined. Okay, maybe not ruined, but definitely stained. The baby pink fabric, so delicate and dreamy when I first put it on, this morning, now had a deep patch of red. It soaked through my underwear too, messier than I expected. I groaned as I peeled the dress off, careful not to smear more. When I stepped out of it, it felt like I'd shed my skin. Cold air met my legs as I stood there in my underwear and bra, staring at myself in the mirror. The pad was full completely. The sticky ends were already starting to come off. I yanked it off, wrapping it in toilet paper, and threw it in the trash. With a sigh that shook, my stomach twisted, sharp and miserable. Since I was a teenager, I always been a heavy bleeder. Everyone said it was normal, but no one told me how inconvenient it would be on days like this. I reached into my clutch and pulled out another pad. Thank God I always carried extras. That part at least was done. But the dress, oh God, the blood had leaked onto the inner lining, too. The pink fabric was now streaked with red and a dark rusty orange where it had already started to dry, and when I tried to rinse it under the faucet, the water turned red and then pale yellow. I scrubbed with the soap dispenser beside the sink. My fingers were cold. I tried again. The stain faded a little, but the yellow tint wouldn't go. I stared at it. This wasn't supposed to happen. This day wasn't supposed to go like this. I was supposed to be the calm one, the helpful one. And now I was standing half naked in a prep room, scrubbing blood out of my gown with hotel soap, trying not to cry. I should have stayed home, or just jumped from the 4th floor and ended it. My throat burned. I blinked hard because I could feel it. That tight, shaky kind of feeling right before the sob actually comes. My eyes were already wet. Yin, Jungkook's voice came through the door. Are you okay? You've been in there a while. I startled, my breath catching. He was still there. I thought he would have left by now. I'm fine, I said quickly. I winced at how it sounded. Do you need anything, or want me to come in? He asked out of concern. I could feel he was being cautious. The knot in my chest tightened more. I didn't want to cry, and not because he was being nice to me. No, I'm not dressed, I blurted before I could stop myself. I mean, I'm not appropriately dressed, so please don't come in. There was a pause. Okay. I sniffled, staring at a dress that looked like a murder scene. I scrubbed again, hands trembling now. The soap was barely helping. The satin wasn't meant to be soaked like this. The more I rubbed, the weirder it looked, lighter, but blotchy, faded red mixed with yellow, like an old bruise that wouldn't go away. The first hair rolled down my cheek, then the second. Before I knew it, I was clutching the dress to my chest, trying not to sob. Like a child, my face was hot, throat thick, and I kept biting my lip to stop the sound. But the harder I tried, the more it bubbled up. A knock came again, softer this time. Yin, his voice was quiet. I'm sorry to disturb you. I don't want to make it worse, but is there anything I can do to help? I covered my face with my hand, squeezing my eyes shut. No, it's okay. I let out a shaky breath. The dress is still stained. I'm trying, but it's not working. There was silence for a moment. Is it just the back? I don't know. Maybe I can find a shawl, a scarf or something. I paused. Would that work? I'll see if I can get one from the bride. Side room, he added. She had a few warm-ups, right? Like those beaded wraps? I think so, I whispered. Okay, I'll be back. And he meant it. I could hear him walk away, the sound of his dress shoes fading. Jungkook Pav. I returned after 5 minutes, maybe less. My fingers were clenched tightly around the sheer beaded wrap I found folded on the edge of the bridal suite's couch. It was delicate and shimmery, just big, enough to maybe cover her back and blend in with the dress, hopefully. I stopped outside the prep room bathroom door knocking. I brought it. There was silence. Then her voice came small. My dress is soaked. Now. I could hear helplessness, the thick sniffle in her throat. She was trying to hold it together. Shit, you want me to call your mom? I asked carefully. Or one of your friends? No, I'll manage, she said. Her voice cracked just a little at the end, but I didn't mention it. I stood there, shifting my weight awkwardly, fingers tightening around the wrap. Can you give me your dress? I said. I'll dry it for you. I mean, there's a hair dryer here. I can try. Silence again. Okay, just wait a second. I heard the soft shuffle of fabric and the door unlocking. It cracked, open just enough for a pale arm to stretch out, the dress hanging delicately from her fingers. I stepped forward quickly and took it. She pulled her hand back. God, I gulped hard. I'd never been in a situation like this before. Not even close. A girl, crying in the next room, a blood-soaked dress in my hand. The dress was damp, the bottom half almost dripping. I held it, gently, careful not to crumple it. The stains weren't obvious. Now, not to the eye at least. I turned it slightly, looking for them. Only faint shadows remained, mostly at the inner lining and near the seams. She'd done her best to clean it, and now it was up to me. Once, when I was younger, my mother had stained her pastel silk dress with wine during a dinner party. I overheard her telling my aunt, later, that beaded wrap saved me. She had draped it over her shoulders, covering the back. No one noticed anything. I glanced at the wrap, in my other hand. That wasn't the point though. The point was, Yin trusted me enough to hand me her dress, to let me help, even like this. I walked across the room to the small dressing table. The socket was near the floor, and the hair dryer was already coiled beside the mirror. I plugged it in, adjusted the settings, and spread the dress across my arms, using low heat. Jungkook, her voice came again. I turned my head toward the closed bathroom door. Yeah, she hesitated. I could hear her, shifting, her voice slightly muffled by the door. Can I borrow your coat? I blinked. My coat? Yeah, until the dress dries, please, she sounded, unsure, like she hated asking. I didn't even hesitate. I shrugged off the jacket instantly and walked to the bathroom door. Here. The door opened just a sliver, just like before, and her hand reached out, grabbing the coat from mine. Our fingers touched, bare skin this time, and something fluttered in my stomach, like the way your chest feels before your name is called to stage, or how the air holds still when you spot someone in a crowd you've been trying not to stare at. Having a crush on your brother's wife's younger sister? Definitely not, for the week. I saw her at every family event, every get-together, every dinner, every holiday. Her eyes always bright, her voice always soft, warming the room where she is present. We shared small conversations. I never had the courage to ask her to hang out or text her. I never thought I'd be standing here, holding her blood-stained dress, while she hid in a bathroom wearing my jacket. I turned back to the dryer and resumed what I was doing, hands steadying the fabric, focusing on the task. I rotated the fabric, slowly, careful not to overheat it. I didn't even hear the bathroom door open. Not until I saw her feet bare against the floor, her legs pale and clean, leading up to my coat. She wore it buttoned near her chest, the hem starting far too high above her knees. It covered what it needed to, but barely. The least I could do was be respectful about it. Here, let me help, she said, reaching for the other side of the fabric. I didn't stop her. I shifted the dryer into my left hand and let her hold the end of the dress. I flicked the dryer off finally and gently ran my fingers along the now warm material. I think it's done, I said. It's not perfect, but it works. She nodded. Looks way better than before. I looked over at her. Her cheeks were slightly flushed, maybe from embarrassment or just the warmth of the dryer. She gave me a tiny smile, one that didn't quite reach her eyes yet. Hey, I said, half laughing as I held up the beaded wrap like I was showing off a magic trick, the secret weapon. She let out a soft laugh. You actually found it. I'm more resourceful than I look, I teased. Survival instincts. I've seen enough aunties cover wine spills with these to know they work. She laughed again, and this time it sounded a little more real. That made something flutter in my chest. She took a breath, then looked down at the dress again. I'm sorry, she said, for dragging you into this whole mess. What? I said quickly. No, don't apologize. I wasn't dragged. I came here on my own. But still, I mean it. I stepped back a little. You didn't ask for this. And honestly, I'm happy I could help. She looked at me, lips parted like she wanted to argue, but then she stopped. I didn't think this would happen, she said softly. If I'd known, I would have taken precautions, worn some darker color. I gave her a lopsided smile. Sometimes luck genuinely sucks. Yeah, she gave a tiny chuckle. Luck hates me. Well, I said, lifting a brow slightly, for what it's worth you handled it better than most people would. I've seen grown men lose their minds over coffee stains. Grown men don't bleed through satin, she muttered under her breath. Okay, fair. The corner of her lips lifted. I handed her the dress. You should probably change. Ceremony starts in what? 10 minutes. She froze. Wait, what? I nodded. I didn't want to pressure you before, but yeah, clock's ticking. Why didn't you say anything sooner? Because you were already stressed, and honestly, the bride can't walk down the aisle without her maid of honor, so I figured the world would wait. She stared at me. I rubbed the back of my neck, suddenly feeling warm. I mean, I didn't think that out loud. I did, but whatever. Just go. Change before I start saying more dumb things. She laughed, and I swear that laugh was worth everything. She stepped back into the bathroom, clutching the dress carefully, the beaded wrap over her arm, and I stood there for a second, still holding on to that dumb dryer, heart thudding faster than it should. Third person Pav. When Yin stepped out of the bathroom, it felt like the air in the room shifted. She wore the dress now, the same one that, not too long ago, felt like her undoing, and yet, she looked ethereal. Absolutely ethereal. Jungkook didn't even mean to stare, but he did, and it wasn't just because the dress had dried or because the wrap covered the faint traces of what had happened. It was the way she carried herself even after breaking down. The way she took one breath and still stood straight, like nothing broke in her. His gaze followed her as she walked over. She handed him his coat, folded neatly in her arms. Thank you, she said softly. He took it without a word, still watching her. She moved to the mirror, her fingers adjusting the curve of her dress at her waist, smoothing the fabric down. She lifted the beaded wrap next, holding it up and examining the length with a small frown, clearly debating how she was going to cover the faintest spot. He took a slow step closer, coat still draped over his arm. Her hands tried to drape the wrap around her waist, but the angle was strange, and she struggled to get the right coverage over the side of the dress. Here, he said, already reaching for it. Let me. She let him, took the wrap slowly and began to fold it at an angle. He wrapped the cloth around her, looping it low on one side, letting it fall a little over the curve of her hip. It might look a little out of place, she said, barely moving her lips. He looked up at her face, their reflections meeting in the mirror. You'd be surprised. You could wear a trash bag right now and still look. He trailed off, lips parting, like he caught himself before saying something blunt. Still look what? She asked, not moving her eyes from his. He cleared his throat. Looking good and not like you have a mental breakdown, he said instead. She gave him a half-hearted glare, and he grinned. He took a small step back, hands falling away once the wrap was secured. He admired her when she was looking at herself in the mirror, her half-bitten lips, cheeks flushed. She turned to face him, and that's when his hand moved without much thinking, just an impulse. He reached out and tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. She stilled under his touch. His knuckles brushed the side of her cheek for just a second longer than necessary. He pulled his hand away quickly, like he'd touched something forbidden. Sorry, Jungkook said under his breath, though he wasn't entirely sure what he was apologizing for. Maybe for touching her, maybe for wanting to, maybe for not pulling away fast enough. Yin shook her head gently, eyes not meeting his this time. It's okay. It wasn't, not because she didn't mean it. She did, But because, what was he thinking? Because his heart was still thudding in her chest like a drum, in the wrong rhythm. I should freshen my makeup, she said suddenly, like she needed to say something. Yeah, sure. But he scratched the back of his neck. Not to panic you or anything, or like, remind you of the thing you're clearly trying to forget but we have about for minutes. She blinked, finally remembering her sister. Wedding. Oh God. Yup, he held up 4 fingers for slow effect. She was already blotting her lips with a tissue and reaching for her clutch. The beaded wrap shifted slightly as she moved. From this distance it didn't even look like a cover dash up. It looked intentional, elegant, almost a patch of moonlight where shame used to sit. Hey, she said quickly, can you hand me the setting spray? He blinked, halfway to putting his coat back on. The what? The setting spray, she repeated, shooting him a look. That bottle. He grabbed one bottle. This one. That's a perfume bottle. The one beside it. He gave her the right one this time. Seriously? She mumbled while spraying. Why don't guys ever know the basics of makeup? He shrugged. We'd love to if our future wives would teach us. Her hand paused midair. Oh, yeah, he added with a faint smile. Like, you know, when she's too sleepy to take her eyeliner off, I'll do it for her. When she's too tired to redo her lipstick, I'll carry a spare one in my pocket. You never know when a good man might be needed. She blinked at him, her lips parted slightly, caught off guard by the smoothness in his tone. You're planning far ahead, she said after a second, trying to sound casual. Bit early for marriage, isn't it? You'd be surprised. He stepped closer now. Some things are worth planning for, especially if she's someone who forgets herself while helping everyone else. She looked away, fumbling to screw the lid back on the spray. He caught the tension in her shoulders and quickly dialed it back. But I mean, until then, he said, clearing his throat, maybe you could teach me what a setting spray is. Baby steps, right? She smiled, shaking her head. Let's get going to that ceremony. But I mean, until then, he said, clearing his throat, maybe you could teach me what a setting spray is. Baby steps, right? She smiled, shaking her head. Let's get going to that ceremony.